I have been warned. Stay away. No, stay away from the projector. I already moved it once.
Shabbat Shalom. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Rabbi Tim Gaylord. I'm very thrilled to be here with cantorial soloist Ariel Khalili, accompanist pianist Nancy Rosen, and also our immediate past president of Temple Beth Shalom and a member of our board of directors, Mike Winston, on instruments. And I'll have more to say about others on our bima in just a minute. But before I begin, I wanted to also welcome those from Temple Beth Tikvah to our service tonight. As y'all may know, this is Jewish Disability and Inclusion Month, which is observed in the month of February, the goal of which is to unite Jewish communities to raise awareness and champion the rights of all Jews, including Jews with disabilities, to be respected, valued, and included in all aspects of Jewish community life. So our service tonight is dedicated toward that goal. It's one idea that came about from our recent learning that we embarked upon together. By we, I'm referring to members of Temple Beth Tikvah, the board of directors of whom, together with our board of directors, recently came together as part of our Shalom Tikvah experience to learn from educator Eliana Naftan-Kelman from Gateways, an organization, Jewish organization, that's geared toward increasing access to Jewish education for learners of all varieties. Hence, the idea of doing a service that's geared toward accessibility. So in addition to learning, each community brainstormed some specific next steps that we wanted to focus on. And here at Temple Beth Shalom, those ideas include many of the resources that you may have seen already on your way in. So if you're in the pews, you may have seen our little flyers that describe the same information. Or you may have walked past our table at the back of the sanctuary that Shani is playing Vanna for, where we have large print sidurs, amplified hearing devices, and fidget devices, which I have seen many make use of. And in general, should you need a break, you're welcome to step into our library and boardroom, where we will be rebroadcasting the service. And we're also going to be trying to project our tefillah, the prayers that we're saying, on the wall to our left. So these next steps, one more note, they also proudly reflect the input of our religious school students. So last year in religious school, as students, we're learning about how God created all of us, B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. The students came up with suggestions, including adding a device and a button that would automatically open the doors to enter our campus and enter our building. So that particular step is going to take some more time, but we wanted to mention it in appreciation of their thoughtful suggestions. And finally, you may have noticed that Ariel and I are not alone on the bima this evening. In addition to Nancy and Mike, we're also delighted to welcome Jamie Evans, who works with students who are deaf and hard of hearing. As we say in religious school, we will do a round of applause. So Jamie is part of the Orange County Department of Education's Deaf and Hard of Hearing program. She is graciously volunteering in the interest of chesed, loving kindness, to offer sign language support, American Sign Language support, as part of the service, for which we are very grateful. Thank you, Jamie. So with that, that's right. Mitch, I appreciate this is applause. Keep me honest in American Sign Language. So thank you, applause, applause. And a couple more brief notes. If you haven't already, this is a good time to silence or mute your electronic devices. And just in case it's helpful, our restrooms are located straight out the door that everyone came in, and you are welcome to get up and use them at any time. And then last but not least, we have a few members of Kolot Halev, our musical group, who are here with us this evening, who just helped sing Ozi V'Zimra Ya. We will continue with their loving voices on page 128 in just a moment. Page 128 with Hine Ma Tov.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. 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 How good it to be together on this day. How good it is,
How good it is,
how sweet it is,
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Kol hakavod. It is truly wonderful to be here with you all this evening. We're going to continue in just a moment on page 121, and it's my honor to call up Mimi, Izzy, and Ethan Winston, who, as you might imagine or know, just might be related to Mike Winston. And Mike, I know it's spur of the moment. You're welcome to join him if you like, or you're welcome to stay locked in. There's no bad choice. Oh, hey everyone, Shabbat. Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Let's raise up our glasses. Ruach atah Adonai, mekadesh Shabbat. Amen and l'chaim. With that, in just a moment, we will continue on page 138 with Lecha Dodi. As you may notice, when you reach page 138 in the blue brackets, there are many stanzas that are part of Lecha Dodi. We will be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Again, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach our 9th verse, we'll invite us all to stand and face our entrance to welcome our metaphorical Sabbath bride. So one more time, Lecha Dodi, page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, yalalai, 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 p'nei Shabbat. nekavela lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela shamor v'zachor b'dibur achad hishmi'anu el cham yuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litihilam lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela likrat Shabbat lechu v'necham ki hi mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat achilam lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela hitorari hitorari kiva orech kumi ori uri uri shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich niglam lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela boi v'shalom atene balam gam besimcha u'v'tzoholam toch emunei am segulam boi chala lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kalai elalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela.
With that, let's say hello to one another. You can just take a moment, say hello to people next to you. There might even be people behind you. Okay, I'll invite everyone to please remain standing to the extent you are able. Please remain standing to the extent you are able. Or how about this? If you can hear me, put your finger on your af. Pretty good. If you can hear me, put your fingers on your oznaim. Very nice. In just a moment, we will continue on page 146. That's for our Barhu. Please rise to the extent you are able.
lai, 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 lai. Yai, la, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, la, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, la, lai, 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 lai. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach.
In just a moment, we will continue on page 148 with an English reading of Ma'ariv Aravim. Specifically, we'll continue together where it says, "Blessed are you, Adonai our God," in the middle of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. With that, I will invite us to turn the page to page 150, where we will continue together in English, where it says, "Everlasting love you offered your people Israel." Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. In just a moment, we will continue with our Shema and Ve'ahavta, starting on page 152 and continuing to page 154. With that, I'll invite us to please rise to the extent you are able.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Ahem, emet. You are welcome to be seated. I'll invite us to turn to page 157, 157, where we'll continue together in English at the top of the page, where it says, Standing on the Parted Shores of History. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together, and singing Mi Chamocha, which we will do right now on the next page, page 158.
Yai lai lai, yai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la lai la lai, ya lai la lai, yai lai la la lai, yai la lai lai, ya la 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Ma'atecha ra'u banecha, bokei hayom livnei Moshe, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh.
It's not surprising, at least to yours truly, that after earning our freedom, singing Mi Chamocha, one of the first things that came to mind was wishing and praying for safe rest. We will do that right now on page 160, where we'll offer Hashkivenu. Again, page 160, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. The shelter of your peace,
just a moment, I'll invite us to turn to page 164, where we will shortly begin our Amidah, our standing prayer. We'll start together on page 164, continue through page 170, then we'll take a moment for silent prayer, after which we will come back together by singing, offering Shalom Rav on page 178. So one more refresher, we'll start on page 164. Please rise to the extent you are able.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'achava, Melech Oser u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol atah, Rav leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim bechesed, Mechayei HaKol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah l'chachayot ha'kol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei ha'kol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom, yechalucha salat. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lechol Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
It's with the spirit of peace, shalom, that I'll invite us to please rise and face the Israeli flag for Hatikvah, lyrics for which are projected or on page 678. In just a moment, on page 371, we'll offer our blessing for healing, Mi Sheberach. I'll invite us to call to mind those in our lives who are in need of healing, and also invite us to share those names out loud or inside our hearts as my eyes and my hand move across the room. Misha Berach is in the middle of page 371.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Misha Berach, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all those we mentioned, and let us once more say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Today we are reading Parashat Mishpatim, which comes from the book of Exodus. Now, in the big picture of the Torah, Moses and Miriam have successfully led the Israelites out of Egypt. We've completed the Passover narrative, and now Moses and the Israelites are camped at the foot of Mount Sinai, where God has already pronounced the Ten Commandments. And today, in Mishpatim, God articulates what scholars call the, quote, covenant code. Now, in practical terms, God expands upon the Ten Commandments, outlining a comprehensive code of ethical behavior. So, in addition to keep and remember Shabbat, don't steal, don't kill, don't be jealous, God articulates laws and examples of what moral behavior looks like. For example, God specifies that should you encounter your enemy's ox or donkey going astray, meaning running off, as oxen or donkeys are wont to do, you must surely return it to him. Should you see your adversary's donkey sprawling under its load and would hold back from assisting him, you shall surely assist him. These are examples of how we, as Jews, are compelled to care about other people in the world, to ensure that our moral foundations are not just abstract principles, but also inspire us to act in offering assistance to others. But more so, it's not merely other people to whom we are obligated to assist. Let me briefly read again. Should you encounter your enemy's ox or donkey, should you see your adversary's donkey. In other words, God is explicitly saying, hey, yeah, you know how when you see someone suffering and it's someone who you don't really care for, someone you might not invite to your birthday party, an enemy, an adversary, the kind of person where your reaction might be, huh, good riddance, or too bad, so sad, not my business. Well, guess what? It's that exact person whom we are obligated to help, no matter how difficult it might be to get ourselves to do so. But wait, there's even more. If I switch over to the Hebrew, in the first verse, the terms I just mentioned, the first one, enemy, oivecha, that's enemy as in your enemy's donkey or your ox. But then in the second verse, it's shona'acha. In Hebrew, that word, shona'acha, it comes from the root Sin Nun Aleph, which means to hate. So, we're not just talking about someone whom we dislike, someone who's an adversary, whom we are commanded to aid. It's anyone whom we truly loathe. I can take an imagine almost every one of us, myself included, can think of someone whom we've encountered in our lives whom we're really not a big fan of. Perhaps I'll invite us to take a second and picture one such person from your life, your past, who you're like, not my bag. And then take another moment to let it sink in that that same person we're all picturing, the person whom we might revile, it's exactly the sort of person whom God commands us to help when they are in need of aid. That is the standard that God sets. More broadly, I mentioned or implied earlier, God not only implores us to act irrespective of how we feel about others, but God's ethics, our ethical code, is independent of the social standing of others. Specifically, God says, Kol almana vayatom lo ta'anun. In the Torah, that phrase means, no widow nor orphan shall you abuse. And that phrase, widows and orphans, it literally means widows and orphans in the Torah. But it's a key phrase because it also conceptually refers to those who have the least social and economic standing, the most vulnerable among us. So God commands us to act both in support of those people whom we might loathe and also those who may be outcasts or those shunned from society. Now, as with many historical facets of the era of the Torah, the era of the ancient Israelites, it's impossible to know for certain, but we have some evidence to suggest that widows and orphans may have frequently been disabled themselves, or at least that once someone became a widow or an orphan, then the risk of becoming disabled likely increased dramatically. So, as a brief refresher, it can be hard to comprehend now, but in ancient society, the time of the Torah, almost the entirety of human activity was solely devoted to producing sustenance, food to stay alive. Widows and orphans struggled to find opportunities to do any of that, and as a result, they likely experienced worse diets, riskier economic opportunities, shorter lifespans, you name it. So, with this being Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month, my mind kept coming back to how the roots of this cause, the inception of our striving to be more welcoming of people who may be disabled, it stems from this very part of the Torah itself, including God's relentless focus on ethical behavior toward the most vulnerable in our society, those in ancient Israelite society who likely themselves struggled with some kind of disability. And within the Torah, once God concludes speaking about this code of ethics, God abruptly shifts to prophecy, saying, "Behold, I am about to send a messenger before you to guard you," Moses and the Israelites, "on the way and to bring you to the land that I will show you." Now in Hebrew, this verse begins with the Hebrew word hine, which we have mentioned before in the Torah. This word hine, it's like a big flashing sign. Big deal, pay attention. Here we have hine, behold, I'm about to send a messenger before you. I'll come back to the verse in just a moment. But in the meantime, how many of you have been watching the Olympics? Yes, I saw two hands from Ethan, definitely right there. So people who may have seen the first American couple to win a medal in curling? Okay, some curling, mild curling. Okay, anyone paying attention to our ice dancing team? Yep, okay, lots of fans there, no surprise. Or what about, unfortunately, seeing American skier Lindsey Vonn's awful mishap? Catch that? Yeah, no good. Well, many of you may know, each Olympics is followed, or at least has in the recent past, has been followed by the Paralympics, the equivalent of the Olympics for disabled athletes. Paralympic history dates back to just after the Second World War, but in its current form, the Paralympics have been taking place for more than 3 decades since the '88 Olympics in Korea in Seoul. Now, switching back to the Torah, I mentioned just a moment ago that following God's code of ethics, God abruptly switches to getting our attention by saying, "Hine, behold, I am about to send a messenger before you. Now, as it happens, right now in the present, we have just such one messenger before us. Meet Shayna Vaspi, 24-year-old Israeli alpine skier. She lost her leg in a car accident when she was 3 years old, and then some 13 years later, when she was 16, she tried skiing for the first time on Mount Hermon in Israel. Yes, you can ski in Israel. She liked it so much, and she took to it so well that it became her true passion, skiing, which led her to become Israel's first Paralympian, which, when she competed in Beijing 4 years ago. Shayna, as it happens, is also Haredi, meaning an ultra-Orthodox Jew, and during that competition in Beijing, due to the weather happening, she had to skip one competition because it was scheduled from a Friday to Shabbat. Coming of that experience, in 2022, she began to train further with the goal of competing at the Paralympics in Milan, which start next month once the Olympics are done. However, like all Israelis and almost all Jews, her life and her training regimen were thrown upside down following the tragedy of October 7th. Not least because one of her cousins, Arnon Ben-Visti, was among the first IDF soldiers to fall in Gaza in November of 2023. The two of them were close, and following his death, skiing, in her words, quote, shrank in importance compared to what was happening in Israel and in my family. With my cousins fighting in Gaza, I needed to gather strength to find a sense of purpose that would give everything greater meaning, end quote. So in her search to find that purpose, Shayna kept coming back to her cousin's words, his mantra, where he described at his core how he was a person driven to strive. She said, quote, Arnon pushed for excellence. He had a saying that stayed with me this whole time. What comes easy, goes easy. Everything takes persistence, hard work, and in the end, it pays off. Those who keep going, work hard, and don't give up, get results, end quote. What goes easy comes easy, and everything takes persistence. Following Arnon's death, Shayna embodied this message, including finding alternative locations around the world to continue her training. And when the 2026 Paralympic Games begin, she will enter the competition more skilled, more determined, and more confident in who she is and who she seeks to inspire. Reflecting on her path that led her to this moment, Shayna said, quote, I see myself as a God-fearing Jewish woman, very faithful, knowing that an inseparable part of my path comes from God who accompanies me. Notably, Shayna, is proudly the first person to ski in competition while wearing a skirt. She says, quote, it's a title, a role that I'm very proud of. It's also a message to girls from my world that anything is possible, that the world of holiness can enter sports, and it's not a contradiction. I stood by my values, my faith, and my principles, end quote. Sometimes I can find it's an easy thing to unintentionally relegate the Torah and words of prophecy to a bygone era. Yet I strongly believe just as much in the Torah of the present as much as I believe in the Torah of the past. So when I read God saying, Hine, behold, I am about to send a messenger, and I see such a messenger as Shayna, then the least I can do is redouble my efforts to live up to God's moral code that commands us to act in aiding others. Thus, when the Paralympic Games begin March 6th, and Shayna takes the slopes, may her ski be swift, may her vision be pristine, and may her path be clear. And moreover, may she be a beacon to us all, both in the spirit of widening our collective lens to become more welcoming and supportive of those with disabilities, and, to paraphrase Shayna's words, to illuminate that God's love and the world of holiness truly surrounds us and are ever just within our grasp. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. And Shabbat Shalom. With that, it's my pleasure and honor to call up our Executive Vice President of our Board of Directors, Shani Imard, for some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi, Ariel, and Mike, and Nancy, and to Jamie Evans for providing our ASL support during our service. It's been a wonderful service, and that was a wonderful debar. Thank you. Tomorrow morning, we hope you'll join us for Torah study in the boardroom at 9:15, and it's also online. And then tomorrow, we continue the Shalom Tikvah experience. It will be at TBT. There will be a lunch and a Shabbat sound bath led by Lou James. Begins at noon with a Kiddush lunch and the sound bath beginning at 1. There is a QR code right here on your little handout if you would like to join. And then on the back, there's lots of information. I'm going to highlight something on the bottom there. Purim is coming. Don't miss your opportunity, RSVP to Story Time Shushan. It's another Shalom Tikvah experience for Purim. TBS is also doing a used book swap. So if anyone has books, bring them on the 1st. Books you've read, books your kids have read, books that have been sitting on your shelf for far too long collecting dust. Bring them because they're going to be doing a big book swap. Last year, I mean, boxes and boxes and boxes, and the kids got to pick books, and it was wonderful. Adult books and children's books. And then any new books are going to be going to the Ronald McDonald House. So please bring your books. You can bring them ahead of time, anytime between now and March 1st, but March 1st is when the swap will happen. Let's see, anything else? There's, other things on here. Paid up membership Galentine for Sisterhood. So if you're a member of Sisterhood, please sign up and join us on February 25th, right here. And then Poetry, Place, and Meaning with Rabbi Tim Gaylord and Rabbi Julia Knobloch. We'll be reading some of her most recent poetry. Board members who are here tonight. Is there anyone new here tonight, here for the first time? I don't think so. If anyone has any questions, we have a number. Thank you for being here. If anyone has any questions, we have a lot of board members here tonight. Feel free to find someone with the green tag. We have Mitch and Jason. Raise your hands. We have Galit and Mary. We have Andrea. We have Jeff. We have Karin. Mike over here. Sorry, just got to shift. Or me. If you have any questions about anything coming up or TBS in general, come find us and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Shani. Just a moment, we'll invite us to rise. But before that, we'll be on page 586 at the bottom of the page. Do I have it? Yes, I do. Bottom of page 586, please rise to the extent you are able.
Alini l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tei gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. 1 Samuel 16, 1 2 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 Samuel
our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, and we mention the names of those who have passed away recently for whom their families are observing Shiva or Shloshim, including Edward Kravitz, loved one of Bonnie Gausowitz. We recall the names of those for whom their families are observing yahrzeits this week, including Harold Bachman, great-grandfather of Daniel Bachman, June Charlson, mother of Cindy Grossberg, Max Goldberg, father of Rita Zipnik, Joseph Gorin, grandfather of Galen Goodman, Cecilia Hempel, mother of Susan Lagome, Wayne Horwitz, brother of Brad Horwitz, Audrey Kegel, mother of Ken Kegel, Joseph Kolowski, loved one of Sonny Rice, Imogene Miller, grandmother of Ariel Khalili, Vic Nachshon, father of Asaf Nachshon, Charles Pike, grandfather of Bethan Machevich, James Rains, husband of Eileen Rains, Nathan Robbie, grandfather of Ariel Oles, Enrique Saracho, grandfather of Michael Sumagi, Jeanette Schwartz, mother of Michael Schwartz, Vandana Sandowski, daughter-in-law of Norma and Oscar Sandowski and sister-in-law of Guido Sandowski, and Saul Wasserman, grandfather of Jay Wasserman. I'll invite us to call to mind others you may be thinking of and share those names out loud or inside your hearts as my eyes and my hands move across the room. Our Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. Please rise to the extent you are able. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye decho beit Israel, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'amei almaya. Vit barach vit tabach vit pa'ar vit ramam vit naseh vit hadar vit ale vit halal shemei dekudisha barichu la'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we once more say, amen. And zichronam livraha, may their memories be for a blessing. With that, I'll invite up Izzy and any other children at heart or children who might be with us by surprise. Oh, come on, Ethan, you got some. It's worth it. It's so worth it. Should we see if it's a challah? Should we? What's the verdict? Pancake? Hey, kind of. A little bit leavened pancake. Close enough? All right, let's do it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And b'tei avon. Hey, guess what? Enjoy the challah. Thanks, Mitch. And thank you all so much for being here. Let's one more truly grateful, deep thank you to Jamie Evans for graciously offering ASL Sign Language support for us. We really appreciate it, both in the spirit of chesed, loving kindness, and in the same sense of Shana being a beacon for us to expand our vision. So too may you continue to be an inspiration for us to do more of the same. With that, let's put our arms around each other and offer Oseh Shalom.
shalom aleinu. Ve'ol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Usei shalom imrama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'ol kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Shabbat shalom. Have a wonderful weekend.